In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on making charts. We're going to use a column chart, or what they refer to as a cluster column. Let's shrink that up a little bit. So the first thing we can do, which is kind of neat, it really doesn't deal basically with an actual external chart, is use what's called a spark line. And you can find spark lines under the insert. So what I have here is I have some data. It's a School of Fun. There are 5 classes, the average grades for the 3 exam, final exam, and then your overall grade. And what I want to do is I want to have a little mini graph that's just going to show me my exams. So under Insert, there is the Spark Line group, and I'm going to choose Column. And what it wants to know is what's the data range. Well, I want to do just simply B5 to D5, and then I'll click OK. And you got a little graph there. And if I just bring that down, you'll see that it changes depending on the particular data. So let's say over here with this exam, let's say I change that to a 50. And I hit enter, you'll see that the number changed. Let's put that back. If I click on my spark lines, there's a spark line group, or a group. And I can go here and I can change the various colors, and I can do a specific color if I want. There's some styles here. If there were markers, you could have markers for each item here if you wanted the high point, the low point. Let's say the high point we do nice blue. And these will just show you a quick way of the highs. You'll notice these are the same. So let's change that to 82. There we go. So that'd be kind of useful. You have as much data as you want. Just realize you don't have a very big space to work with. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on to actually creating a clustered column. And so I want to select the data from A4 to D9, because all I want, actually we're going to include the final exam as well. So let's just bring that there. Not really useful to bring in the overall. There might be instances where that would be useful, but for now we're just going to do the 4 assignments. And we're going to go to the insert, and we're going to choose cluster column. That's right under here. You can go to recommended if you want, but you can also choose it from the list here, and it's the first one. And you'll notice if you just hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. And let's move it down a little bit. And so obviously the first thing we need to do is provide a title for it. So we'll select that, and we'll call this Class Averages. And you can see that we have exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and the final exam. But what if we wanted, instead of the class being on the horizontal axis, well, what if we want to have the actual assignment? So if we have the graph selected, or the big chart selected, under chart design, there's right here where we can switch the rows in the column. So now what will be along the bottom are the exams in the final exam. So however way you want to deal with that, we're going to put it back to the actual classes. So you can switch those around a little bit if you need to. Now what we do need, we have the legend, but it'd be kind of nice to understand what these numbers along the side mean. So we can add axes titles. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, and we're going to have axis titles. Now by default, if I click the little box here, it's going to give me both. But let's say all you wanted was the vertical or the horizontal. We're just going to choose the vertical because it's pretty obvious what these are. And so here we can just, it's kind of on the side here. So what I do is I click on it, and then I do a Control A or Command A to select the text, and we'll call this scores. And that would be a very simple graph. Now you'll notice that along the vertical axis, we have the scores go from 0 to 120. Well, there's really the highest you can get is 100. So why have this do that? So we can actually adjust the minimum maximum of the axis, the vertical axis. So if I just double click it, you'll see that it opens up over here, so I can format the axis. The bounds, the minimum is 0, the maximum is 120. That's just something that Excel did. So if I just double click that, I can change it to 100 and just hit enter. And you'll see now that it's just going along with the minimum being 100 and the maximum being 100, or 0 to 100. Now notice it has decimal places here. That's not necessary. So we can go to home, and no, looks like we have to, let me see if I can bring that back. Oh, it's not letting me do that. So there's got to be a way to do it here. Well, number, there we go, number, and I can change the decimals to 0. So you have to explore a little bit. And I'll just hit enter, and it gets rid of the decimal places. Usually you can go up here and make any changes, but I guess Excel's being a little cranky today. So that gives you the ability to do some just simple graphs in Excel to represent what your data is. You do want to be careful of having a lot of data. Maybe in that instance you do want to do some kind of summarizing as opposed to listing every assignment. That might get overwhelming, but these aren't too bad. They're just four assignments. So that is, we're creating a column graph.